Which I'm just going to bring it up. He may be a hypocrite. Like, we may be exploring a hypocritical side of him in this arc. Anyway, we are live with episode 25 of the podcast after like over a year of hiatus, because that it wouldn't be a Hunter x Hunter podcast if we didn't take a huge hiatus.
We took inspiration from our Lord and Savior Togashi.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, we're back. Just the two of us this time. Gil cannot be present with us on the podcast. He's busy, which is completely understandable. We were all taking a break because we were busy, but yeah. Anyway, who cares about that? We have new chapters.
Finally.
It's crazy, bro. Finally.
Literally,
Finally,
four
dude.
years. Chapter 390 released November 26th, 2018. All right, it's been 4 years, and we're finally back. The dreaded hiatus has finally concluded. We're getting 10 new chapters. And 2 of them have already released.
Yeah, and it could be more.
Oh, yeah.
Could be more, which is crazy.
Togashi. So, for those who don't know, Togashi actually made a Twitter account in which he has posted drawings and manuscripts and updates to the most recent chapters, which is how this whole started in the first place. I believe this came around in August of this year.
Yeah, around my birthday, which was a really nice surprise. Yeah, that was one of the best gifts I could have ever gotten.
A lot of people doubted.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people doubted that it was actually him at first because his username was just a random string of English characters and numbers, and so it seemed like a bot or a troll account. But it actually turned out to be him, and now in about 2 weeks, I believe, he became the most followed mangaka on Twitter, surpassing Oda, who makes One Piece.
No way, dude! I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, he has over 3 million followers. He's completely popped up. People are excited for his return. People love him.
I knew that he popped off, but
so.
I didn't know it was like that hard.
No, he became the most followed mangaka on Twitter in 1 or 2 weeks. He completely ratioed everybody, like the absolute legend that he is.
Togashi, bruh.
Gosh.
Right, well, okay, so of course we're going to be discussing the new chapters this podcast, but where the heck do we even start?
Okay, so a lot of people were actually somewhat confused about what was going on in chapter 391, which released 2 Sundays ago from when we were recording. This is because it's a continuation of chapter 390, which is a diverging plot into the mafia plot of Henry and his companions of the GU family, which is in tier 4 of the Black Whale. So it separates away from the tier 1 plot lines of the main princes and such, and dives back into the plot line of the mafia families, the Phantom Troop, obviously, and Hisoka, which we'll get to later. And of course, chapter 390 brought along some new characters, which are Henry's companions of Lynch and Zakuro. So,
I love both of them. They're both great goons.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. They also have really interesting Nen abilities. So Zakuro's Nen ability is literal blood manipulation. So if anybody watching or listening are familiar with the D&D podcast of Critical Role, they created a special magic class called the Blood Hunter class, ironically enough. And that class is all about manipulating one's blood, and by damaging themselves, manipulating that blood to gain special magic and effects, which is exactly what Zakuro does. This was demonstrated in chapter 390, in which one of Haley's goons actually attempted to slit Zakuro's throat, in which he then used the blood that spurted out to restrain him.
Oh, that was such a great twist as well. Togashi really... He's fantastic at pacing out information and making you believe one thing, and then immediately putting that on its head, twisting it, and it was really, really fantastic, that reveal.
Yeah, Lynch, also Zakuro's companion, is also a really interesting character because of the potential power that her ability wields, in which when she punches another person, it allows her to hear the inner mind like the inner dialogue of the victim, which is interesting, and that could lead to a great form of interrogation.
Yeah, it's the perfect interrogation ability.
Perfect for a mafia member.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if she's dead though. So
so more on that later, though.
Yeah, a bit later. Lynch, she's really cool. I wanted to bring up earlier when I mentioned that that I really liked those two goons is that a lot of the underlings in this story are getting like really, really cool character traits. Usually in like in a story with like a big mafia group, the story will focus in on the people high up in the ranks of the mafia. And it will, all the goons will be just like cannon fodder. And I'm not saying that they're not cannon fodder in Hunter x Hunter, but at least they have personalities. And that's something that I can really, really appreciate about Togashi as a writer.
This is
that he'll go out of his way to give personality to as many characters as he can.
This is also amplified about how he actually takes the time to create unique nen abilities for these characters with unique conditions and such. For example, going back to Zakuro and his blood magic, one of his conditions is that for, health reasons and also as a nen condition, he must carry around an IV bag with him at all times. That's a great condition for a blood ability. But anyways, that's enough of chapter 390. We should get into actually what happened in the second to most recent chapter of recording, chapter 391.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where do we start? I guess
Henry.
Go ahead.
Henry, however you pronounce it. My apologies. I
pronounce it Henry
Zakuro.
For the record.
Oh, really? Why is that?
HxH. It's like a lot of names that use that. That sound is usually re. So like Haley, for example. That's usually spelt in that way, and that's why in my mind I just read it that way. It could be different, but that's how I read it.
That's fair. But as I was saying, Henry orders Zakuro and Lynch to go investigate for Hisoka, because as we all know, the Mafia is actually also working with the Spiders to find Hisoka. Some of them are using this to hopefully maintain the balance of power between the Mafias, to hopefully have Hisoka and the Spiders kill themselves, such as Wayne. Or others want to seek to get the power of the Spiders to win against their rival families, such as Ornior. But other than that, it's a whole mess. But Zakuro uses his blood to try to track Hisoka's aura, or where Hisoka might be on tier 4 and tier 3. While Henry...
just looking for tall people.
6'2", thick ass and wide hips works. Whoever it might be. He's got to be thick. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and Hisoka was drawn thick in 392. Spoilers alert.
Which we'll get to in a
we should put... we should put at the start of this podcast that there's spoilers. But anyway, continue.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, if we're going to title it like, big chapter reveal, not clickbait. Of course, it's going to be spoilers.
Oh, poggers.
It's a podcast. I mean, I thought if you were expecting spoilers, I mean, it would be pretty stupid to not expect spoilers. Getting back to on topic, though. Chapter 391 actually is mainly about Henry and his run-in with some Healy Mafia members, some Marina's crew, who is the illegitimate child, one of the illegitimate children of Nasabi, and her power is to infect a group of people by giving them a kiss. And with this kiss, it allows, if this affected person creates carnage and death, aka killing a civilian, they'll gain 1 level in quotation points. And the more levels they get, the more powerful they become. For example, at level 20, they actually unlock their own unique Nen ability. Of course, the danger level of the victim matters. So it's specified that a civilian counts as 1 level, a Nen user counts as 10 levels, but a prince counts as 50 levels. And at level 100, the affected person can start their own community of infected. And so it's a plague essentially. That's a great way of looking at it, because Marina's quest is to just create havoc and to destroy this quote-unquote dung heap of a world. And so her ability perfectly reflects upon that.
Yeah, it's literally called Contagion. So that's the idea behind the ability. I think just based on the ability alone, being Contagion, I feel like that's almost a death flag for Marina. It may or may not be. But the way this ability will probably work is that she's made it so that it spreads whether or not she's alive. And maybe it just works. Even though, like, in the case that she dies, it may just keep working. It may get stronger because of postmortem Nen.
Correct.
She may have designed that with that in mind. But yeah, just a footnote. Like, I feel like it's almost like a death flag for her. That it's called Contagion and that it seems to be designed to exist beyond her existence. And just that in and of itself, you can tell, like, oh my gosh, the dominoes are lined up and they're just starting to be tipped over. And as this arc progresses, you just know that the chaos is going to rise and rise, and more people are going to be getting to, like, level 100 and getting infected with abilities and stuff like that. It's going to be crazy.
Precisely. Later in the chapter, actually, we're able to encounter several of Marina's crew who reached past level 20. As we were explaining, Henry continues searching tier 4 and tier 3 for either Hisoka or Marina, and he actually encounters 3 of Marina's henchmen named Tevalares. I doubt I'm pronouncing that correctly. Quarrel, which is spelled Quroolle. I don't think that translated very well into English. And of course, Padale. And respectively, they are levels 24, 22, and 29. Henry, the hothead of that group, Padale, who's level 29, his ability is to change his limbs into different weapons, because he wishes to just be a lethal weapon. He's just a psychopath. Like, you can see it
he
in
literally
his eyes.
wishes that he wants to be reborn as
a weapon,
a weapon itself, to feel like the blood of people on him. That's how he describes it.
So I should specify that with Marina's crew, these individuals who follow her are not existing Nen users. They are civilians, non-Nen users, people that follow that mafia family. And of course, if you read through the chapter, you'll see that Henry and Padile fight it out. For example, Padile turns his right arm into a hammer, a mallet, and tries to crush Henry's skull. But he is actually stopped because Henry turns a pair of handcuffs he had in his pocket into a pigeon. You did not hear me wrong. He turned one half of the handcuffs into a literal pigeon, while the other one was remained handcuffs and remained closed around the hammer arm. Literal hammer time. All right? Hammer time. This video just got copyright
that's
claimed.
a really, really cool use of Biohazard, which is the ability to turn objects, gadgets, weapons into animals that retain the form of the object that they were transformed from.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we saw in 390... what was it, a pair of shotguns, a pair of assault rifles or something, get turned into snakes and then turn on the users and then blow the user's head off. Oh, it's so sick.
Henry's based.
So cool.
I'll just say that. Henry's based.
Yeah, actual
But
based ability.
I will
Probably
also say
in my
though,
top 10 for Hunter x Hunter abilities.
I will. Another example of this is earlier in chapter 391 to this summary. He turned a surveillance camera into a cat. And by the way, Togashi's drawing of a cat is very cute. I will say it's a good cat. It's a good kitty. It passes the kitty test.
It was a pretty cute kitty.
So, but he at this point he handcuffs Henry and he attempts to intimidate the other Healy members, who then pull out their guns on him, and in a sense of just Dowsing Chain flashback, he then blocks their bullets because they're not Nen bullets, but they do in fact shoot the pigeons, unfortunately.
It doesn't work on the pigeons.
Oh yes, my apologies.
They shoot the pigeons
I interpreted
and then
and they just clink. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I misinterpreted the drawing like a buffoon. The way that like the lines were drawn, it looked like they were being shot out of the air because the feathers were falling out. My apologies.
Yeah, it does look like that. No, I would understand why you would think that. But then, yeah, he says the handcuffs were, they were handcuffs to begin with and reinforced with aura. You guys can't kill him. So that's pretty interesting as well. He can keep his animals, almost indestructible. Like, shooting them with guns doesn't even work. Like, you'd probably need to hit them with a huge Nen attack to destroy them.
You need to use Nen bullets. That's what it is.
Yeah, emitted bullets.
Yeah. Padile then broke free from the handcuffs and charged at Henry's face with, instead of a hammer, a drill. Like, holy shit. A drill?
Yeah,
you
which
sadistic bitch.
Yeah, that was, on one hand, it was pretty cool. I love the drawings of the drill, like, going through Henry's hand, and it is like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I am kind of surprised that he didn't expect something like that. I will give it a pass, because he didn't see the guy's hand transforming into, like, multiple different weapons, but I feel like it's a pretty simple deduction to see, like, oh, this guy can transform his hand into a weapon, like, I suppose maybe he can do that with multiple weapons, you know? So I was a bit surprised to see him get caught out by that specifically, but he still is able to turn the situation around on Padile and swiftly lock his hand to his leg using two different handcuffs, which makes for a great drawing. He looks like a dancer flying through the air or something.
To give credit to Henry, though, he is quite a powerful Nen user. He is the underboss of the Jiu family. He probably didn't expect a civilian or someone of Padile's capabilities to be able to shapeshift his limbs on command to multiple weapons. He probably thought it was like a one-trick pony.
Not.
Like he was just underestimating them, and I think that led him to drop his guard for a second, while he was also blocking the gunfire from the other Healy members.
I think that might be foreshadowing for Henry. That arrogance, that willingness to be like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm the sickest one in this room right now. You know, I don't need to care about like these low level scrubs. And then, you know, he gets punished for that. We kind of saw something similar with Lynch when this is jumping ahead. But Lynch is one of the goons under Henry. Didn't really seem to like care too much about the details of, you know, hunting down Hisoka, and like she you know, a lot of these characters know how powerful Hisoka is, being like a floor master, being able to contend with the Phantom Troop, you know. But you know, even knowing that, she's like, yeah, whatever, I'll just like walk up and punch him, right? You know, it'll be easy. And we see how that that arrogance kind of turned back on her in that moment. I'd predicted that as soon as I saw how flippant she was about that mission. I was like, yeah, she's gonna get decked by Hisoka. Like, and sure enough, that does happen. I think, but anyway, back to Henry. I do see that as a bit of a red flag for his character. That we're seeing all these characters being put against each other on the ship right now, and a big part of this arc is predicting, okay, how are these characters going to fare against one another?
I think though it's not. This is just a trend outside of Henry, but it's a trend to even past the mafia, but to the Kaken political structure as a whole. Everyone is arrogant, full of themselves. Everybody thinks that they are the best. It really does seem that way. The way that the Succession War was built and how it was always structured is that Nasabi trained all the princes, legitimate and the illegitimate children, which are the heads of the mafia families, that in order to be the leader of the country or to hold the most power, you need to be ruthless and you need to just be the best. You are the best. And if you succeed, you must be the best. Everyone is below you. And so I think it really shows a cultural just arrogance of themselves. Just they really hold themselves to this next standard, even though they're in reality they're just full of themselves. And so I think it's actually a common trend. Of course, there are certain individuals who do back up these claims. For example, Sir Ridnick. He is a very, very, very talented end user. He learned the 4 exercises in a day. He created Parallel Future, right? And of course, Benjamin has his own private military. He has all these political connections. He is just a murderous psychopath, essentially, similar to Sir Ridnick. And so I think, like what you were going back to, it's how these people will deal not just with winning, but with losing. If they survive, let's say, just it begs the question: if a person loses in this mindset, does the equivalent of losing mean death? Like, is there a worse fate than death to these people? Yes, losing.
Yeah, I think that is a mindset for a lot of these characters. I think you're very right about that.
And usually on the first view, it might just be chalked up to the princes, right? Like the wealthy upper class royalty of Kaken, which is understandable. Obviously, royalty traditionally just have some type of arrogant aura around them. But even with the underboss of a mafia family, right? Not even the boss, the underboss, he holds this certain swagger about himself. He walks with a certain attitude of, I'm the best in the room. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and to be completely fair, he's so sick for that. I love Henry. I really hope he does survive, but I do worry for his safety with how arrogant he is.
Well, nothing is safe from the absolute chin Henry contains. If you look at page 19 of chapter 391, like that, look at that chin, magnificent.
But yeah, going back almost to rival Hisoka's at that angle.
No kidding. But going back to the summary, Henry then after cuffing Padial, he then tortures him to death. Like, he just bends his limbs in a way that they all just snap and he dies. Like, he kills... Actually, sorry, I'm looking at it right now. He took the drill arm that he has, moved it back to the back of Padial's head and shoves it into the back of his head, killing him. Like, I'm sorry, but that's kind of a Chad move right there. Like,
and the line that he drops when he does that, bro, it's so sick. So this Padial guy is like, the feeling of like death. It's like the most unique feeling ever. It's like the best, bro. And then Henry drops, good for you. You got to know what it feels like to kill and be killed all at the same time. And then Padial's just like, yeah, and then he dies. And it was just such a great way to end the chapter. It was so sick. Right. Oh man, I love Togashi, man.
Henry then challenges the Healy Mafia members, who then run away and to to not be caught and to inform Marina of Henry, and that is how chapter 391 ends. Like, what a great way to return!
Yeah,
Like,
I think
power moves from the beginning.
Speaking of Togashi's return, I saw a lot of people like disappointed that this was the way that he returned.
Really?
And obviously not true Hunter fans, because it just makes sense that this is where he would return, because he had storyboarded out the chapters previous to the hiatus, so he was just starting where he left off. And I these characters were in the middle of a sequence, so I don't think it'd make sense to break that sequence and go like, "Oh, guys, look, it's Hisoka, like right off the... Oh, guys, it's Jing and Beyond Brothers!" It was just like, yeah, we're getting straight back into where the story left off.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a Soy Wojak moment. Like, the people that probably call him out on that are probably mid-piece enjoyers and say it's the best thing ever written.
I've been in this hiatus. My little brother's been getting into One Piece and just like watching it occasionally, and I've been watching it with him, and it's enjoyable. So, yeah, they're both good in their own respects. But I respect your opinion if you think One Piece is mid. I do think Hunter x Hunter is way better. I'll just put that
I'll
out
say
there.
this though. I think it's on a quick. I think it's just. I mainly say that just to piss like the really just toxic part of that fan base off, because it gets a very good
I totally
reaction.
agree with you then.
Yeah,
Go
just
for
calling
it.
it mid.
Yeah.
It's like calling Hunter x Hunter mid or Hunter mid. All right, it's
I do see trolls drop that one, and it hook, line, and sink every single time.
mid piece, one piss. There's so many good ones.
Oh man.
Hilarious.
Okay, so yeah, that chapter ends, and then we jump straight into this week's chapter, where this crowd of people is freaking out about what just happened. They just saw this guy chop this guy's hand axe into his own head. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that just happened!" And they were shooting at each other. Oh my gosh, there were guns and stuff. And then the guy that was just killed gets back up. And then at this point in the chapter, I'm like, what is going on? He just had like his brains mixed with his own axe. Like, what is happening right now? He gets up, and these soldiers come over to question, like, what's going on? The soldiers just got there, so they hadn't seen this altercation take place, and they're questioning Henry now. And the guy that was just dead starts answering to them. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. It was like a misunderstanding. We bumped into each other. Our egos got in the way, but we figured it out, man. It's all good.
But
and then he's just like, yeah, I'm all good. And then he walks off. And then, the Henry and the guard, they're talking about like, the guard's like, so how much would you give me if I gave you the location of Morena? And he's like, wow, yes, let's discuss this and whatever. So they... corruption is a big part of this arc that was ever present. But
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it's been specified throughout especially through the mafia plot, that the tier that these guards or the Kakin army work in, the lower the tier, the more they're able to be bribed and the more corrupt that they are. And it shows that the more in power. The higher tier, like the more class that a guard works in, the less corrupt they are, really. And that actually relates to some real world countries' political structures. And I recognize that. I'm like, damn, Togashi really just hit us with that, because that's how some places actually work. Isn't that so strange?
I don't think it's strange at all. Knowing Togashi, he's a very knowledgeable man.
Oh yes,
and that reflects a lot in his plots, in his writing. Yeah. But yeah, I was just gonna skip all that discussion, because it's just like whatever. It's setting up Henry and this guard are gonna go to Morena's Morena's crib. They're about to hit it up with the guns. But anyway. Yeah, we skip. It's revealed like this guy that's walking away that it was like, did this guy just die? he's got like this girl, like almost a doll looking thing, stuck to his back, and it's Misha Howe, the deceased former ZU member, whose post-mortem Nen has activated, and her ability is to dispose of the people that this clan murders, this mafia
This
murders,
actually
which
makes
is
sense.
just so cool.
This makes sense because during life, Mishu was actually a cleaner for the Jiu family, and this postmortem then really kicks in, and you actually can get a hint of this ability in chapter 391. If you look in the second to last panel, you can see Hinrai think, Misha, I'm counting on you. I can't be held up here. And so he is calling on Misha to help dispose of the body. And this really also ties into the concept of postmortem Nen in this arc. Like we've got Misha, we have got Camilla and the Have-Nots, we got Hisoka. Like there are just perfect examples of postmortem Nen and just how potent these abilities are. Like the ability to discreetly dispose bodies for a mafia, that's so useful on a confined space. That's a damn near perfect ability.
Yeah, that's such great utility. We see at the end of the sequence a picture of the whale floating through the ocean, and then a little plip sound effect, like him throwing himself off the back of this, or Misha throwing him off the back of the ship.
I know.
Is a really, really cool detail.
You could just see the civilian just mutter to themselves as he just casually walks by with like a blank stare on his face.
Yeah, and blood like dripping down all the way down his back from his freaking split open skull. It's really, really gruesome, but so cool.
But yeah, so it's been specified now that tiers 3, 4, and 5 are ran not by the army but by the mafias, as we all know, and what was specified in one of the chapter in the 360s or 370s. It shows a mafia map of the Black Whale, in which each mafia member gets their own tier. For example, the Cha'ar family owns tier 5, which is the poorest, because the Black Whale wealth structure is tier 1 is the wealthy and nobility, all the way down to tier 5, and then it goes to tier 4, which is the GU family, and then it goes to tier 3, which is the Healy family. And so currently this altercation is transpiring on tier 3, I believe. So
and props to the background artists, because they're really good at conveying the difference between these tiers. They're just, in general, they're really, really great with these backgrounds. They're really slick, stylized, they're grungy, and then they're clean, and then they're detailed, and then there's so much passion and artistic talent that goes into this manga that I don't think is appreciated enough. I was just going to say, I've been appreciating the art a lot more for this manga recently, because I recently did a little cheeky project where I attempted to create a fake leak for chapter 392. And I'd almost finished the page, but then the actual leaks dropped, so I was like, it's whatever, I won't complete it. But in that process, I had to analyze a lot of Togashi's art and really, really, really pay attention to the little things that were happening in the art. And a lot of people give him crap for being like maybe simplistic with his character, like not his designs, but his art style, and sometimes being a bit loose and messy. And I just got to say, man, like I think it's probably one of my favorite styles to draw in. I'm usually a very detailed artist, but Togashi is able to strike a really, really fun balance where he keeps his characters fairly simple, but with some level of detail. So they still look like cool and energetic and like
alive,
like they could exist. Yeah, like they are alive. But he keeps it simple enough that they're easy and quick to draw, which is really important for a weekly manga series. So respect for him finding a balance in that style, but also there's simplistic characters on detailed backgrounds make them stand out more, and they're like really kind of heroed on the page, and they're really it's easy to see which characters are where on a page, which like I looked at some recent like One Piece chapters, for instance, and Oda loves to do like these huge pages that just have so much detail, but it's really easy to get lost in that detail, and it's kind of like he's not like prioritizing the readability of the manga that much when he's doing these pages. Whereas with Hunter x Hunter, it's just like perfect all throughout. Like it's so readable, it's so well balanced. I just have so much more respect for it after analyzing his art to that degree, and kind of trying to draw it in that style myself. We'll put like a picture of like what I drew up on screen for this segment.
Of course.
But yeah, that's just like an aside for Togashi's art. And before we move on, I also wanted to talk about one other thing, and that's just how terrifying Postmortem Nen is. And we've seen like characters who know a lot about Nen and know about Postmortem Nen, they're really scared about like triggering that, and like they're like, okay, well, this guy's got like I think it was Finks in the Yorknu arc. He was talking about like, okay, we really don't want to pursue Kurapika while the boss is chained up like this because of the power and potency of Postmortem Nen, and like the like how somebody who wants revenge that strongly could affect like the Nen and the ability for Postmortem Nen to trigger, and like the potency of Postmortem Nen. We see characters really, really scared about it, and we can like just in this chapter seeing how this ability works. This isn't like, you know, killing somebody and then their Nen flaring up just before they die. It's killing somebody and then like you've created like basically like a never-ending curse out of their Nen now. Like that Nen exists for like whenever the Haley family, the ZU family kills somebody, that Nen will trigger and like do and trigger its function. Now, like imagine that for like a much scarier ability. I can't give an example right now.
Have-nots.
But like, I guess the have-nots. We don't really know what their abilities are right now, but they're structured around, you know, killing themselves and letting their Postmortem Nen trigger. But yeah, you can just see how capable Postmortem Nen is of being like such a huge issue.
Right.
And that's, I feel like this really kind of hints at it without showing it all the way just yet. But yeah, I guarantee we're going to get some crazy Postmortem Nen abilities coming
So
up.
just a quick thing about the Yorkshin example. It's actually not Finks. Finks was the one that wanted to go kill him like immediately as soon as Corolla was received the Judgment Chain. But it was, I believe, Machi or Pakunoda who actually calmed down his hot-headedness to stop that. So...
gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Finks was the one that wanted to actually activate it.
Well, yeah, I think initially he was like, he was referring to the rule of the spider, where like it's okay to chop off one limb as long as the spider as a whole lives. So he was fine with Corollo dying in that moment. I think that's why he was fine.
That's
with
fair,
it.
because it also split, because the altercation and trying to decide what to do with Corollo led to a separation between the spiders. For example, Machi and Pakunoda and Nobunaga thought that they should at all costs keep Corollo alive, while people like Finks and Phaeton believed that they should just let Corollo die to let the spider live on, and to get rid of their biggest adversary.
They were cold as hell.
Right, but I mean, in Corollo's belief, Finks and Phaeton were correct, because Corollo, even though he's the head of the spider, he's an equal to everybody else in the group. His ideas hold as much validity as Finks or as Machi or anyone else, and so by having Machi or Pakunoda place him on this pedestal, it goes against his wishes, actually.
Yeah. Which I'm just going to bring it up. He may be a hypocrite. Like, we may be exploring a hypocritical side of him in this arc, because we can see how how the deaths of the other members have impacted him so much. He's not as cold-blooded as like this rule is a very cold-blooded rule, right? Like you just have to like sometimes let a member die for the whole spider to live, but it's very inhumane, and we see him so like impacted by the death of Shalnak and Kortopi. He might be like internally contending with this rule that he's set for the spider. Like, I shouldn't be feeling this way about my comrades, but yet I am. I don't know if I'm interpreting that right about him. But,
you're correct, actually, because he openly stated during his fight with Hisoka in Heaven's Arena that when he was also explaining Sun and Moon, that he shared heavily with the beliefs of the Meteor City Elder, who believed that humans were nothing more than mere puppets, that they are shallow husks to be taken advantage of and to be disposed of, and that whatever cruelty or humanity that they may have is just an outer shell, a deception to their true nature. And so it really shows that even though he's such a heartless bastard, and I will always hate him no matter what, but he definitely is showing empathy for his spiders, and it does show empathy. I mean, you can find videos, Reddit threads, Discord threads, whatever, of just analyzing Crollo to bits and pieces about about his views on the spider, about how it's representative of his personality, his world legacy, etc., etc., etc. And it shows that Crollo as a concept is an oxymoron. He's a paradox. He's a cold, wretched, heartless killer, but similar to Gon, he is warm and open and receptive and forgiving of those he holds dear to him. This is outlined.
He's so blind to that.
This was actually people recognized that when Gon asked Crollo when he and Kilo were captured for the second time by the Phantom Troop, "Why do you kill people?" All he did was stare at him, and he couldn't give an answer. Of course, this also does play into Gon's hypocrisy, but that's another topic for another time. Am I right? But I think that
hypocrisy seems to be one of Togashi's favorite places to explore a character. He likes to point out where they think one thing and then they actually feel another thing.
Well, hypocrisy is a very human trait. I mean, most, if not all, humans hold some degree of hypocrisy. And it's more, is a person able to recognize their own hypocrisy and not just point out each other? And by learning of one's own hypocrisy, that they can strive to become a better and stronger person. God, Togashi has such good writing. God damn. What a Chad.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a pretty long tangent that we went on, but I think
it's a podcast though. Like,
there's a lot of
it's what we do here. I mean, if it's
juicy
good in its content. Oh yeah, we've been eating good for these past few months, especially with Togashi posting daily on Twitter for a spree of about 2 months. But he's been slowing off.
Yep.
But it's all right though. It's confirmed that there will at least be chapters up to 400, and he has tweeted actually that he has been working on chapters up to 404, I believe.
I somewhere around there. He's gone beyond 400.
Yeah, but
like...
it's been confirmed that there's at least up to chapter 400, which is 10 chapters after having the longest hiatus in the series history. It's incredible. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's good to be alive. I'm eating good right now.
All right, but let's get back to the chapter 392 summary. So it's after the disposal of Padial and the introduction of Misha. We cut back to Zakuro and Lynch, who are making their way through Tier 3, just randomly interrogating people following Zakuro's investigative blood, which was shown in Chapter 391. just randomly punching people to see if they're Hisoka. For example, Lynch just walks up to this random person who, in all honesty, doesn't look anything like Hisoka. Like, if you've seen a photo of him, it looks nothing like him. She just punches him in the gut. It's like, is your name Hisoka? Hiso who? No, you got the wrong. It just immediately just punches him in the chest, knocking the air out of him. No, I'm not. And he just hurls over.
Poor guy.
Yeah, they're like, his friends are like, we're calling the police. He's not him. Next. He's just like not so nonchalant about it. Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, we're part of the fucking mafia. If you want to just get reimbursed for your injury, yeah, just stop by our hideout. Nothing dangerous or suspicious. Nothing about the Yakuza or anything like that. Nothing big. Yeah. But so they are.
We see them hunting tall people, which is
hunter. Even though they're not hunters?
I mean, they could be hunters. Though.
Okay, so we go to the next page.
That his blood ability. I was just going to say his blood ability is really cute. They're like little gibbly creatures. They've got like cute little eyes. They make little sounds.
Googly eyes. They just have little googly eyes. So we go to the next page, and Zakuro's like, yeah, we don't know what kind of net ability he has. Like, what if he's just trying to disguise himself, Lynch is playing devil's advocate? And then he says, oh yeah, there he is. And then you cut to a wide angle shot of just some civilians, and then a seemingly rather tall man in a dark tracksuit, and you get a zoom in, literal JoJo symbols worth of power with Hisoka staring at the page. 6.5
It's just him.
Years. Yeah, it took 6.5 years to have Hisoka back, because last time he was seen, chapter 358. You know when that released? June 2016. Yeah. 6.5 years nearly. And he is just there now in a tracksuit. And you gotta love also, his, like, the zip is a spade. Like, he's got a great tracksuit. Like, honestly, this is, like, custom made. Got a heart on the back, and even an arrow just pointing down towards his ass. Like, he just has to let everyone know that he's got a dump truck. Like, holy shit. What's up with that?
He does have an arrow pointing at his ass. Oh my gosh.
But to also help him blend in, remember, he's using texture surprise after the Heaven's Arena fight. Though he's probably gotten his wounds repaired by now. It has been a few months since that fight. But he has his hair down, which we haven't seen in years. Or tens of chapters.
Great Island or something.
And Lynch is just like, hey, are you Hisoka? He just looks at him or her just like confused, like, who are you? And she just says with full confidence, like no fear of his aura. She's like, Lynch, and you? And she just tries to punch him, and he's just like, what are you trying to do? He looks at her in one panel, she's like, he literally does, like, the bruh sound effect number 2 at her. Like, that, if you saw that, it would work perfectly. We cut to the next few panels, Lynch looking at horror. In the next one, Lynch seems to fall down. Hisoka hasn't moved. And Zakuro gets a fake look of horror on his face. And what happens? Lynch gets knocked out. And he's so nonchalant. He's like, oops, sorry, that was a reflex. I didn't mean to do a counterattack. Oopsie.
Great visual storytelling, by the way. Like, this is
no dialogue, just pure drawing, pure artist, pure art.
This was basically the concept I was going for when I was doing my fake leak. I was basing the plot around Lynch and Zakuro looking for Hisoka, and they didn't find Hisoka in my iteration of the story. They found one of Morena's goons, but this is just way better in my opinion.
So better.
It cuts out a lot of fat in the story that would have been there if they had been like finding like a bunch of like random people that weren't Hisoka, and like Takashi had chosen to stretch it out. It just would have been kind of fatty and boring in terms of storytelling. But them finding Hisoka so soon is really really cool. In my
it's also
opinion.
really it's great visual storytelling, because just you can see it in just the sheer horror that's on Zakuro's face and his thinking like, oh my god, he's so much more powerful than Lynch. This pressure, this overwhelming aura, he must be real. And it's just like the dark background of him staring like a Krollo stare. It reminds me of the chapter 375 stare, or I think it was like chapter 375. It's the manga panel that everybody count that shows that it's the Phantom Troop spreading out across the black whale. I'll put it up on screen. Everybody knows this one. Yeah. But it's like he like hyper realistic eyes, which you almost never see for Hisoka, and he just calmly, nonchalantly just looking at him. But it's just like the eerie calmness, and just I realized I'm like, wait, I don't read or watch JoJo, but I recognize like the floating JoJo symbols of just representing of just sheer power. But going back to what you're saying, the visual storytelling of this altercation perfectly represents just Hisoka's power and his influence in these lower tiers. Because remember, we were actually discussing this on the podcast all those months and years ago, that there were some people that believed that Hisoka just was a complete troll and baited the Phantom Troop on going to the Black Whale, and he just stayed on the mainland. He was just faking them out, like, and people thought that
that's such a troll theory.
No, but people thought that Togashi was going to be the ultimate troll and not even have Hisoka on board. But there, 2 chapters later, he's confirmed, ladies and gentlemen.
He's back, baby.
Legitimate.
Yeah, when I was talking about the visual storytelling earlier, it's showing that like. Not showing that Hisoka's attack at all, and just showing Lynch fall over. Like, that's the speed of Hisoka's counter. Like, that is such a cool way to show this encounter. And like, you know, when I was planning the fake chapter, I was like, okay, how am I gonna like do a really, really cool scene and have like how do I show like the action in like the coolest most bombastic way possible? But Togashi has like a really keen sense for
suspense,
for holding back on like action and like impact for greater effect. Like, this is way more effective than showing like a huge like Hisoka counter, like a huge like, you know, he like slits her throat and like blood goes everywhere, like a huge angle.
He uses bungee
like,
gum to launch Lynch to the ceiling or something like that. No.
That would have been pretty funny, but you know, like, just this is just so effective.
It's also also extremely effective. You know why? Because it shows to him answering, like responding, like, I'm the one asking the question now. Him giving the JoJo Sigma stare at the beta scared Zakuro, and I'm saying this because even though I like Zakuro, it cuts off immediately from them.
Yeah, me too.
It really leaves that suspense of really want to see what happens in the next chapter. Like, is Zakuro dead? Is Lynch dead? Are they injured? Like, what is going to happen to those two? Like, it just cuts immediately with no context, just to a panoramic shot. Oh yeah, just great design, like that. Just power move right there.
Yep, we get a complete scene change, jumping to another goon that's getting some really, really great characterization. This is what I was talking about earlier. I was thinking of Zakuro, Lynch, and this guy specifically.
Right.
This guy is at some like black market location in the whale. Like, this lady deals like drugs, like things that people would pay like 10 times premium on,
or even 100 times.
He's talking to her, and this guy's saying, "Hey, do you got like autograph paper,
autograph board?
Like, can I buy that here?" And she's like, "What? Are you crazy? We sell like heroin here, bro." So he's like, "Damn, I got to figure out how I can get autograph paper so I can get autographs from the Phantom Troop."
And in this chapter, he specified that he wants it from Hisoka. Because he is a huge fan of the Phantom Troop.
No, he's saying he's going to find Hisoka, and he wants his reward to be autograph paper.
Okay, yes.
So the reason why he wants autograph paper so bad is he doesn't want to look like a scrub. Like, he wants to look like he respects the Phantom Troop, and he wants like a legit autograph of them, not just like on like his hanky or
even
whatever.
Though he's apparently like even though he's like their supervisor technically, because Wayne assigned Nobunaga, Phaeton, and Finks to him to like show him around. It's like, oh yeah, just oh my god, I'm such a fan of the spiders. Excuse me, I have to throw up after saying that. Give me a moment.
Yeah. Which is just fantastic characterization, because you can just imagine in like any other story, like goons just wouldn't have any presence at all, right? Like this would just be like a character with glasses who's like bald, who would just be like, yes, come with me,
This way.
yes, and then like get killed by like Phaeton, like with his like
No, but
little midget sword.
It's great characterization, and this has also been shown in the tier 1 guards as well. Each guard for the different princes has a personality. Like like the fact that Togashi takes the time to go and give each of them at least a certain type of personality, or at least a certain level of skill in Nen, like he details it. It's really good. It shows that he's been thinking about the series even during the hiatus. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of storytelling, this is how you give your world, you just flesh out the corners of the world just that little bit more to give your story that fullness. Having like minor characters still feel so believable and real and enjoyable. This is how you tell like a full story. So
it shows that the world,
just for any of the writers out there,
it shows that this universe has gone from a character's world to a universe, and the fact that each person, like, that's another thing. Just it was like this in earlier, but it's very much been expanded upon in the Succession War. That there are more. It shows that there are more perspectives than the main protagonist, and that's really good. It really makes the world feel alive, because even though in your own individual life you are technically the main character, you live through your own perspective. You must remember that everybody else has their own perspective of life. And that's emphasized here. It's like, oh yeah, he might be a mafia goon, but he's read a lot about the spiders, and he's apparently a huge fan of them. Just like he has his own
really
desires
endearing.
and goals.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we get that character, and then
The interaction
we get a
also-
whole lineup.
The interaction between
go
the
ahead.
supervisor and the black market merchant also details about how cargo is shipped between the black whale on its voyage to, right now, the fake continent and in the regular world. Apparently, cargo is shipped by blimp, or if it's smaller, large drones, which... Quick tangent here. You gotta love how, even though the series started in 1998 and is still continuing now 24 years later, you can see that even though it's only been like 2 or 3 years of in-world time has passed, you can just see how technology from our real world has impacted the technology of this world. Like, you can, like, in the beginning, like the Beetle 07, the flip phone that Larry recommended to go on Killua in York Shin was a flip phone, like a chunky ass flip phone, like a car phone from the fucking 80s. Now, if you go to, let's say, chapter 350, you will find cell phones, like touchscreen cell phones.
Yep.
Like, there's large scale
391
drones
as well had one.
Also, you gotta love how Togashi predicted the internet during the Hunter exam, by the way, with the Hunter, and emphasized it more with the
They
Hunter
had the
website and
internet
such.
back then.
No, the internet did exist by then, but the way that the amount of uses and the functionality of it that later played into
Right, I
the
get what
future
you're
arcs,
saying. Okay,
it showed the potential of what the internet will eventually become, and how intrinsically important it is to globalization and, well, the world. So
Yeah,
quick
he did. He did
tangent
make
over.
Yeah, I was just going to
sorry, go
say
ahead.
he did kind of implement it into many little corners of, like, earlier on in the series as well. A bit less so now, but yeah. Anyway, should we just get back to summary? Continuing with the summary, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as we were saying, it cuts to the supervisor with Wayne and his fellow member, and they are currently on tier 4, I believe. Yes, I believe they're currently on tier 4 right now. I believe.
Dude, let me just say, this is the most confusing part about the story for me, and I will probably had to reread it and like take notes to actually get a full grasp of it. But one, the individuals from all three mafia families, I understand like the mafia bosses. I understand some of the key players like Morena. Henry, Zakuro, Lynch, those characters. Like, now that we're getting more familiar with those, I'm starting to understand their place. But there's still so many other characters. Like, this one guy that's coming up in the story right now. Like, I constantly forget whose family he's a part of. Like
The guy in the suit?
It's
Wang?
just yeah, the guy in the suit.
Yeah, he's the underboss of Char. He's the equivalent of Henry, but for the tier 5 mafia family.
Right, okay.
Yeah. He is the one that is working with Phaeton, Nobunaga, and Finks right now.
Begrudgingly as well. He's so scared.
Begrudgingly, yes. Oh yeah, he is one of the people in which he wants to pit the spiders with Hisoka to hopefully neutralize each other to maintain the balance between the mafia families. Because he definitely sees the risk of using the spiders for their power to eliminate the other families, because they are definitely an unwieldy group of people. They're unpredictable as well. And he is definitely a man of calculations and logic. He is definitely concerned.
This is another part that I'm currently getting stuck up in, and it seems like you have this guy, which from what you're describing, it seems he wants to keep the peace between the mafia families, but then you have other people who are like, their goal is to, say, use the troop to destroy the peace between the mafia families and gain an edge over the other mafia families. And it's so easy to get to forget who's vying for what specific situation. And then when they start expanding on like their logic, and like they'll start like explaining like their current plans. Like, you get like a new chapter, and then this guy will have like a new plan, and you're like, wait, why is he doing this specific thing? Like, what's the logic there? Like, do I need to like go back in the manga and read up on like what his foundational logic is, like what he wants? It starts to get so freaking confusing,
right?
I'm sure like if the watchers are reading along, they understand what I'm saying.
The reason why I'm able to remember all of this is because I read 50 chapters in one day, or a few hours, I should say. And so this is all very fresh in my mind still. Like, if you asked me to answer this like 2 months ago, I would not be able to answer at nearly as effectively or as detailed as I am. I would have forgotten plenty of these people.
Yeah.
But
yeah, his I don't even know how to sum up this point in the chapter. It's basically like this team is also looking for Hisoka, even though Hisoka has basically been found by the other team, by Zakura and Lynch.
Right,
which, by the way, what do you think is going to happen with Zakura and Lynch now? Do you think Hisoka is going to take them out? Do you think Zakura is going to lead him to his mafia boss, like he said to Hisoka that he could do? Like, what do you think is going to happen? So
I actually read. So since you made the Discord thread on the subreddit Discord server, link in the description, obviously, I wrote in the Chapter 393 prediction thread that I personally believe that it would be in Hisoka's best interest right now to keep Zakuro and Lynch alive, because obviously they're members of the mafia. He's able to recognize that, and his goal is to kill the spiders and to create chaos and carnage. And I'm sure he's aware that, or at least somewhat aware that now that the mafia is looking for him, that the spiders are also on board and they're looking for him. And so if he wants to fight the spiders and create a somewhat uneven scenario for him, he should allow them to report back to Henry and eventually the other mafia members, in which then they could send the Phantom Troop over that they have on board so far to kill him. So that's my prediction. I think that some people I know are claiming that, oh yeah, Zukuro and Lynch are dead. When was the last time that Hisoka left someone alive? And I think, well, that may be the case, but in this specific scenario, Hisoka is maybe bloodthirsty, but he's not a moron. I think it would be in his best bet
Hisoka,
to allow them to come back to report.
Yeah, I think it would be out of character for Hisoka to actually kill them right here. We've seen throughout the entire series that he's a team player when he needs to be. Mm-hmm. So, the election arc, for instance, he's bloodthirsty as hell. He wants to freaking kill everyone, but he's constantly weighing up the best way to do that. Like when he was weighing up whether or not to kill Killua or to kill Illumi or to kill Aluka, in what order to do all that in. There's a process to his thinking. So he's probably, it would make sense for him to go, okay, the Mafia is looking for me right now. It would suck to make an enemy of the Mafia right now without knowing too much about the Mafias. If they're curious about me, I'm going to see what they're curious about. I'm going to see their standing on the boat, the standing of the other Mafias on the boat, see if they know anything about the Phantom Troop, because, the Mafias have so much control and so much information. And this is the kind of thing that I see going through Hisoka's head right now. And so I see him accepting Zakuro's offer and maybe even using them as like hostages almost. He might not need to do that, but he probably will if negotiations with the Mafia get to like a certain point where like he's put on the back foot.
Right.
I can see him kind of using them as hostages when he first meets the Mafia boss or something like that. Or, the Mafia boss is more than willing to help out and they strike a deal,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do see something like that happening. I do agree with you.
Actually, on topic, as we all know, Hisoka is a very unpredictable character and just in his overall concept. But Wayne here, while he's detailing his new plan to his fellow Mafia members, he has this little internal dialogue that says, and I quote, "If Hisoka is capable of crushing the troop, it would be easier to let them duke it out. But from the clips of the Heavens Arena, it looked like Hisoka enjoys creating unfavorable circumstances for himself on purpose. This is a group of highly unpredictable people." And this is going back to, it's also in Wayne's best interest to tell the spiders where Hisoka is. Now, I'll post the exact quote and part of the page on screen, but I think this supports my thinking. I mean, the spiders that are closest to Hisoka are, I believe, actually the closest people would be Illumi and Kalito, technically, because they're on tier 3. Well, the rest of the spiders are on actually, now that I'm trying to remember, I'll put it up on screen, but I'm trying to remember if Chrollo, Shizuku, and Bonolenov are either on tier 3 or tier 4 at that moment. But
I roughly remember, like, if I were to guess right now without checking back into the manga, I would guess they're on tier 5, or at least they started on tier 5, because I remember like scenes where Chrollo was like sitting down with in like the lunch halls, for instance, with like a bunch of people, and it really looked like the slum area that's depicted on this page specifically that we're talking about.
Maybe that's the case, but I just remember from the Spider Black Whale map that they were definitely not on the bottom of the ship. The bottom of the ship is Machi and Franklin. Franklin is at the bottom, because he was negotiating with the vice boss of the Char Mafia family, because they thought that the disruption was Franklin during chapters 371 when there was a serial killer on the loose, when really it was actually Marina. He was asking if Franklin and the spiders were the ones committing the murders, and he was like, no. Machia is all by herself.
I remember
and
that. He had
the
a
front
burger
of
and everything.
Tier 5. Yeah, exactly. So I think
Machia's
they're...
by herself right now.
Oh yeah,
Sheesh.
no, she's a risk taker. But the point is, some spiders are far away, but some of the Wayne is also wondering why Nobunaga, Phaeton, and Finks have not split up yet in search of Hisoka. They're staying together, and they are definitely prepared to stay in at least pairs to maintain safety and our output.
Yes. Yeah, they specifically was talking about that. I think he speculates that he speculates that this is what he says specifically. The Healy assassin already marked the office, which is that guy that can mark rooms and then basically teleport to any of the rooms that is marked by like opening up like a I'm not going to say what I just thought, but you guys can imagine via how it looks in the manga. Opening up holes in walls, let's just say that. Anyway, so this assassin already marked the office. If they decided to just wait for him there, they have a keen sense for combat. They sniffed out the firing grounds between the three Kaken mafia families without any prior information. And the three of them agreed that the key to reaching Hisoka was using assassins. They are a cool-headed pack of predators who won't divide their attention. So this second line in the Viz translation specifically, using the assassins to get to Hisoka, I personally did not understand what they meant by this at all. I don't get how using some random assassin guy would lead them to Hisoka. I really don't know the logic there, but that's something that he was speculating and why they haven't really split up
Perhaps
yet.
he thinks that, perhaps he's speculating that Hisoka was actually found by Marina already, and that because of Marina's goal is to cause death and chaos on the ship, that actually lines up perfectly with Hisoka's goals. And so it's not unreasonable to think that they would team up in that specific situation.
Oh, I think, yeah, no, I think I see the logic there. So he's saying, when he says assassins, he just means people who have been, like, killing a bunch of people.
Yes.
So if they know that this is a guy that's been killing,
so
then, there's, like, a connection, like, oh, well, Hisoka's a guy that kills a lot of people, right?
So the man that specifically uses the marked teleportation ability, the man with the crescent the crescent tattoo on his face, that is one of Marina's top members. He is the serial
Luini.
Luini. He is the murderer that Mizai and the Healy member like somewhat duped Mizai on. He's the one that's been going around murdering people to level up his nen. He's the one that wants to rush it. And so it's that's what he's thinking.
Right, yeah. Which, by the way, he's also like a Troop fanboy. But he kind of gets, you know what they say about meeting your heroes, never meet your heroes. His vision of them was kind of crushed. Like, he was like, bro, you guys are like murderers. Why are you being so chill right now?
Reference. This is a certified Shia-Proof reference.
Why?
Because Shia-Proof had
Shia-Proof
had the ideal picture of Miriam, like the ideal king.
Yeah, no. I get what you're saying.
And he's idealizing these group of people, even though they're not as, even though they are bloodthirsty murderers, they're not insane, illogical murderers. And he thinks that they just go around killing anybody that they see. That's why. I know it's different, specifically from Poof's idea of Miriam, but the idealization of a person or a group of people and finding out that they're really not that ideal is a reference. It's comparing two situations. This is called literary analysis, kids.
Yeah, he's freaking out at the end of the chapter. He's tweaking, bro.
Oh yeah, Wayne gives like a stone face, like the you know the like the bruh face that from One Punch Man, right?
Maybe there's a lot of funny faces from One Punch Man.
Hold on,
Is it the okay face?
Yes.
Where he's just like, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the exact one I'm thinking of. Here you go. I just posted it to you in the Discord, and I'll put up an image of it in the
put that one up, editor.
In the reference. Let's go. But anyway, yeah, it's similar to that. But yes, he's tweaking, and it cuts back to. Oh yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say the basic summary for this final part of the chapter is Luini, his toying with the Phantom Troop, basically. Like he could have waited for an opening, Fink says, but he chooses to like knock on the door using like his weird portal ability to like make his arm come out of the wall and then knock on the door next to his arm. You know.
He just opens up the
choosing
door
to mess
like
with the troop
like
rather than.
Yeah, he just opens up the steel door
he
like
opens
it's
up the door like a. He does a "Here's Johnny." It really looks like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to tell what specifically he is going to go down. Like Nobunaga pulls out his sword, like, "Hey, you're pissing me off, bro. Like, let's throw down."
It's funny,
but who knows? Like this is 3 troop members. Like this guy must be like delusional if he thinks he can fight them. My thoughts is that he's gonna make a proposition of some sort.
It's 3 of the combative spiders as well. Like these 3 are ones that specialize in just raw combat. Also, I will just say this: Luini, he literally takes the "I'm living in your walls" meme way too seriously. I'm just gonna be that guy. He takes that way too seriously.
Yeah, he legit can like. Not only can he open up doors to rooms that his marked, but he can also just look into them. And it's unclear whether or not you can look back at him when he's doing this. You can see him when he opens up the portal to step through, but he's able to do like this other version of the portal where it's got like, I don't know, like weird strips over the hole or like bars, you know, like something like that, where he's able to just look into rooms that he's seen. It's a really cool ability, honestly. Right. It'd be cool to see not Hisoka, Chrollo take it.
Man, he just kind of fell into the back rooms every once in a while.
Yeah, legit backrooms ability.
Legit actual. No clip.
Which
get back ban.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up real quick.
Back ban. He's cheating.
Before we end the episode, because we're running out of time. We're a bit over an hour now. I was just gonna say. With Morena and all like these low-level Nen users running around, Chrollo's got like a lot of abilities that he can steal right now. I'm just saying, like there's a lot of newbies that he can like just force to steal their abilities.
Yoink. It's quite terrifying to be truthful.
Yeah. And one thing that I was wondering about is like how specifically these abilities manifest. We get a hint with the guy starting with P that can transform his hands into weapons. Pedile, thank you. I suck with names. We get a hint where he's describing all that he's ever wanted is to be like a lethal weapon. Like if he gets reincarnated, he's hoping that he's like a sword or whatever. I don't know. But like that manifested as his ability. So I'm guessing it's like some subconscious thing. But I wonder how Luini's manifested then. Like what his goal is, or like if that's how the abilities manifest, or if like. It might not even be a subconscious thing. Like maybe it's something that Morena like creates for you. Like you discuss it with her, and then she creates it or something. Like who knows? It is described as once you reach level 20, the ability will manifest. So maybe it's subconscious. Maybe Morena thinks of it beforehand before she like adds you to the group. Who knows? But like that's just something that I was curious about.
That brings up a really good point. I'm sure we'll see more of Luini in the near future. He's been one of the more important mafia goons for the past several chapters now, and even back a few dozen chapters ago, he was just there stalking Phaeton, Nobunaga, and Finks in the warehouse when Nobunaga was trying to retrieve his umbrella and sword, or what should I say, Phaeton's umbrella and his sword. He was just lurking. He's the Discord lurker. He's the guy that joins the VC and just stays muted the entire time. And yeah, I know that you guys exist. Yeah, I'm looking at you. For real. Yo, he just like me. He's literally me.
All right. Well, that's both chapters.
Right.
Do you have anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
You gotta love how Togashi specifically calls out the Wikipedia page of the Phantom Troop through Luini. I love that. That's hilarious. Also,
is that a meta thing, like a fourth wall thing that he does?
I mean, he has the company of Facebooked, or like whatever the equivalent is. He has like Facebook, Wikipedia, like because this is technically like an alternate-esque reality of our own. There are real companies and corporations and real places and such that are in this series. And so like Wikipedia, like where else are you going to use Wiki?
Well, yeah, no, I get that, but like, I was asking like if you know the wiki page says you're diabolical thieves, but I guess it was exaggerating. Like, I wonder if that actually says it on the actual wiki page.
I'm gonna.
That's all I was wondering.
Honestly, it would be hilarious if it does, and if it does, I'll post it up on screen and say if it does or it doesn't. But if it does, that would be so funny. Like, that would be the most hilarious thing.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah. But yes, that's my final thought on chapter 392. There's a lot to be had.
My final thought on 392 is that my personal ranking for Phaeton has leveled up a little bit.
Why?
And we'll show it on screen. And that's because we see him reading manga, and I don't know if the I think that's katakana. I don't know if that's him like laughing or something. It might be someone snoring actually, because there's like snore sound effect. But he's reading manga and he's got like little happy eyebrows, and I thought that was just so freaking cute. I was like, okay, Togashi, you got me, because like the representation for Phaeton throughout the entire manga is just like this little edgelord who's just like very one note, and I was kind of getting sick of it. Like, I usually have like a little bit of a dislike for characters that are just pure edge, and I was like, can't he just be like a little bit more rounded out? And this is like exactly what I want from characters like that. Just like, you know, seeing them chilling and like their natural, like seeing them in a much more natural way, I guess is a good way to put it. Yeah, he's looking relaxed, he's enjoying life, reading manga or whatever. It's great. Anyway, that's where we're ending it. Thanks so much for watching, guys.
It's great to be back.
If you liked it is good to be back. I really enjoyed this. If you liked the video, like it, obviously subscribe, hit the bell for more.
Share it with everybody you know.
We're gonna yeah, share it, dude.
Yeah, share it to your Togashi plushie.
More importantly, share your theories on chapter 393 if you're here early. If you're here late, maybe
future
I don't know,
theories?
share some more general theories about characters, net abilities, anything. We love that kind of discussion. We love discussing it with people. But yeah, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Of course. I'll hope to have that out in about 2 weeks. So we'll go over the next 2 chapters once they release.
Yeah, we'll either do it bi-weekly or we'll just jump back into weekly releases again. We'll figure it out.
Of course.
We're trying to keep it casual and without much pressure, because we're both busy guys. So this is kind of like a free time, like a hobby type thing that we want to do when we have the time for it. So yeah. Anyway, catch you guys later.